When the French Baguette became one of the most popular breads in the world, how did Italy, their neighbor, compete? With ciabatta. This bread is filled with tiny holes and is relatively new to the world, being created only in 1982. It's amazing with sandwiches and goes especially well with today's bonus recipe, garlic bread. So let's make it. So the first thing that we need to do is proof our yeast. To do that, we can get 3/4 of a cup plus 2 tablespoons of water, or about 207 grams, and heat that up to about 110 degrees Fahrenheit or 45 degrees Celsius. And to that we can add 1 teaspoon plus 3/4 of a teaspoon of active dry yeast, or about 5 grams of it. Mix it all together with a fork and let that sit at room temperature for about 10 minutes. While that's going, we can get out our big old stand mixer and plop it on our table. Trust me when I say that you'll need a stand mixer for this recipe. It is very wet and very gooey. Outfit your stand mixer with the dough hook attachment, and then we can lock our bowl in place. And to that bowl we can add 1.5 cups of compacted bread flour. By compacted, I mean that you should try to press it into your cup measurement. Ideally, you'll want to get your flour as close to 250 grams as possible. Accuracy is key in this recipe. Now we can add 1 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, or about 5 grams. Whisk that all together so we don't have a big pile of salt on top. Now we can pour in 4 teaspoons or 18 grams of extra virgin olive oil. Start our stand mixer on low, and after that 10 minutes for proofing our yeast has passed, we can slowly dump all of our yeast water in. Continue mixing for about 8 minutes, turn it up on medium-low if you have to, and just make sure that you scrape down the sides when needed. This dough is very gooey and very sticky, so don't worry if it looks like that. After it's been thoroughly swished around for about 8 minutes, you can get your stand mixer out of the way and just poke and prod at your dough, kind of stretch it out. It should be very stretchy, very gooey. This is good. Scrape down the sides of the bowl and make sure it's all in the middle. Then we can get a loaf pan or any other pan that's small and has 90-degree angles. This is going to help us shape our dough since it's so liquidy. And don't forget to grease that loaf pan thoroughly with some cooking spray. Olive oil or canola oil works fine. Then we can scrape out all of our dough from our stand mixer bowl and try to level it off in the loaf pan as much as we can. You can try to spread it around, although it's very sticky, or you can kind of shake the loaf pan and just let it settle. Then we can go ahead and cover it with a warm damp towel and just let that sit at room temperature for about 1.5 to 2 hours. And it's already been an hour and a half. You can see our dough boy is nice and plump. Heavy flour work surface. And dump your dough onto that floured work surface. Cover your dough with even more flour. And get a bench scraper, cover that in a little bit of flour too. And we're just going to keep shaping our dough, trying to make it into a rectangle the best that we can. Again, it's very gooey, so it's quite difficult to do. If it starts to stick to your bench scraper, just add a little bit more flour and shape it again. Should come together pretty well. Once it is shaped to the best of your abilities, here comes the hard part. We're going to want to transfer this to a parchment-lined baking sheet. This is pretty difficult to do considering how gooey it is. What I recommend doing is just trying to find 2 flat objects. Here I'm using my bench scraper and a flat spatula. Push your dough together a little bit with your bench scraper and use your spatula to support it. And you might have to reshape it just a little bit after you transfer it. Somehow I ended up with this cute little bread booty. I mean, just look at it. After we're done shaping our dough, just cover it with a damp towel and let it sit for about 15 minutes. Once that's done, we can go ahead and put it in our oven set to 435 degrees Fahrenheit or 225 degrees Celsius. Leave that in there for 25 minutes. Once our ciabatta is done, pull it out of our oven and set it on a cooling rack for about 30 to 45 minutes. Now you could eat it right now just plain with butter or put it on a sandwich, or we could take it a step even further and make some garlic bread out of it. The first step in making the garlic bread is to cut our ciabatta lengthwise in half. Remember, when you're cutting it, don't do this. Now to prep the toppings. Surprise, surprise, the first thing that we need is garlic. We're going to need 5 cloves of garlic. Gently crush each clove with your knife, cut the bottom off, and then peel all of them. Then just chop them as fine as you can get them, just keep going over and over it with the knife. Once it is as fine as you can get it, just set it aside for now. Additionally, you can get some fresh parsley and chop that up as well. Chop it up as finely as you can get it. You probably don't want any more than 2 tablespoons or 3 grams of it. Don't mix it with your garlic, just set it aside for now. Now we can take a half cup of unsalted butter that's softened, about 113 grams of it. Mine probably could have been softened a little bit more, but I made do. Just mix that in with your garlic until it's all combined nicely. And then to your garlic butter mixture, you're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of fine sea salt, or about 3 grams. And similarly, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, about 3 grams also. And just mix that together one more time. Now we get to assemble our garlic bread. Take our sliced ciabatta from earlier, along with your garlic butter mixture, and to the best of your ability, spread that garlic butter mixture evenly across all of your ciabatta bread. You could use a spoon like me, or you probably could use a butter knife, which would make sense in this case considering it is butter. Didn't really think that one through. We're doing 2 variations of garlic bread here. We're doing the traditional garlic bread along with cheesy garlic bread. To our normal garlic bread slice, we can sprinkle some parsley to cover the top. For the cheesy garlic bread slice, we're not going to be sprinkling the parsley on top directly. You can if you want. Flavor-wise, it's going to be the same, but I think it looks just a little bit better when it's sprinkled on top after it's baked. And even though our original garlic bread is not cheesy garlic bread, we're still going to add some cheese to it. Why? Because it's delicious. Grate just enough Parmigiano Reggiano to cover the top of your garlic bread. That's right, get the Parmigiano Reggiano. If you haven't had it before, now is the time. It is one of the best cheeses I've ever had, and is well worth the extra cost. And then for our cheesy garlic bread slice, we're going to do a little bit of a mixture here. We're going to do 1/4 cup of that Parmigiano Reggiano, or about 23 grams, and we're going to mix that with 2/3 of a cup, or 67 grams of mozzarella. And please, please, please do not get the pre-shredded mozzarella. It won't melt as well, and it has tons of starch in it just to keep it from sticking in the bag. So please get a block and take a little bit of time and shred it yourself. You're actually going to be saving money this way as well. Now get one of your handy dandy baking sheets and line it with foil. Transfer both of your slices onto it. Then we can place it on the middle rack of an oven, preheated to 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 205 degrees Celsius. Let that bake for about 10 to 12 minutes. For the last 2 minutes, you'll want to broil it on high. This will make sure your plain garlic bread is nice and crispy, and will start to brown the cheese on top of your cheesy garlic bread. Once it's finished, take it out of the oven, and for our cheesy garlic bread, just sprinkle a little bit of parsley on top, just so it looks nice and party. If desired, you can add a little bit of pepper on top of that cheesy garlic bread. Cut it into slices the best you can and serve immediately. Now that's got to be one of the most beautiful things you've ever laid eyes on. Let's take a full look at our final product. So there we have it. We made ciabatta, garlic bread, and cheesy garlic bread all from scratch. Every bit was incredible, and it's definitely something to make for your next Italian-themed meal, or because you just want some yummy garlic bread. So if you enjoyed the video or learned something, please leave a like and subscribe. We're continuing our Bread Around the World series, so stay tuned. Alright, thanks for watching.